Dreamtime Learning Online School is a stand-alone school. The beauty of it is it takes half the time of a conventional school. A lot of parents are opting out of the conventional school market, and that's only going to increase. Your experience is only as good as the teacher you have in your class. I want Dreamtime Learning not to be just Indian recognized. I want it to be internationally recognized as the most conscious learning system that there is. Shane Watson reach out to me on LinkedIn. If we touch 1 billion learners, then we've actually shifted humanity forever. Hi, my name is Lina Ashar. I like to see myself as a positive disruptor in the area of education. I started my career in Australia as a teacher, and then that's how I brought Kangaroo Kids and Billabong High as learning institutions of change to India in 1993. In about 2017, I saw a great need to disrupt education yet again because the world had moved from where it was. And so I kind of sold Kangaroo Kids Billabong High to start Dreamtime Learning. We can look at why people do things that are negative and realize that it comes from voids in their childhood. And if we can actually give children the tools and strategies and resources to create shifts themselves, things like positive reframing, positive psychology. If we can use those things within a learning framework, then we actually have a great way forward for humanity and our planet. We're facing a crisis in India and also worldwide, where we're seeing anxiety and depression increasingly on the rise. In India, it's happening for various reasons. Our families are becoming smaller. We're going a lot more digital in terms of our connection, and we're not realizing what all of this is doing in terms of how our brain chemicals are reacting to it. There's increasing external pressure around things like scores and grades for kids. So yeah, we are facing a crisis, especially for children, and those are some of the things that we really want to address with Dreamtime Learning. I kind of believe in entering the world where the children are. So it's no use me saying, okay, now I'm going to resist everything that means something to the kids, like smartphones or this or this or this. I'd rather give them the tools, strategies, resources, and information to understand what this does in terms of their brains and how they should do things in a way that gets their brains feeling that sense of balance, what we call homeostasis, right? Because when we put the brain out of balance, the brain doesn't know how to come into balance, it goes the opposite way. So when we're overhitting it with dopamine, it doesn't know how to overcome and come to a balance, it goes into anxiety before it can come to homeostasis. Now, if kids know this, right, our brains are born to survive. It's only if we, through brainwashing, like some of the things I talked about, that you can actually get the brain to say, okay, I am going to now be something negative in the world, and I'm going to go out and create havoc for the world and myself as a human being. The brain actually wants to survive. Humanity is born to survive. We're born to kind of evolve the species. So kids need to understand this, and we need to teach them from a very young age onwards. 3 years ago, I decided that the best way for me to do Dreamtime Learning is to use my gifts and the research that I put so many years into creating something that can have multiple entry formats. So we kind of call ourselves the Intel of education. And to doing this, I took a blueprint. I created a blueprint based on all the issues I'd had as a franchisor, as Kangaroo Kids Billabong High, that the parents had, the children had, and I created Dreamtime Learning around that. So we are a learning solution that can go into anything, any format of delivery. Yeah, so the format of delivery can be an online school, which we run. It can be a physical school. So we kind of license our curriculum to other schools, powered by Dreamtime Learning. So it's like a computer powered by Intel. We power the school. And the third format is the micro-schooling concept that we started. So basically, we constantly want to set the benchmark for where India has to go in terms of new age learning. 3 years ago, we began. The first year was highly just me and a couple of people very bootstrapped, just kind of putting it all together. We started with about 20 kids in year one, just to experiment and see that could we create that kind of engagement in an online scenario where we didn't want to be what parents had experienced during COVID, right? Which was taking an offline version of schooling online. We wanted to be online. We wanted to use the tools and technology to bring excitement, engagement, gamification into learning. Now we're looking at how to bring AI into the learning formats to even more personalize the learning experience for kids. So that started 3 years ago. A year ago, I kind of hired a team, a very small team, this year we got complete proof of concept, and now is the phase when we'll go to kind of expand what we're doing, to build the teams and invest in the tech and expand what we're doing. Dreamtime Learning Online School is a stand-alone school. The beauty of it is it takes half the time of a conventional school. So say you're a child living in Bangalore, you spend 2 to 3 hours on a school bus, then you go to a whole day school, then you come back, then you got homework, then your parents send you off to swimming, dancing, this, that and the other. Even if you specialize in something, the chances of you actually spending time and energy specializing in that correctly are very slim because your brain and body are already really depleted. So what we do is we've taken away the travel. So you open a computer and your school's online. We have maximized the learning. So what you can do online, in fact, research will show you, using multimedia, etc., the learning is more powerful. It's way more effective than a classroom environment. You do more breakout rooms, more kind of collaborative learning between kids, and you finish learning in half the time. So if you're in grade 1 or grade 2, you finish learning in 2 hours 40 minutes. And the maximum we go to in NIOS, grade 9, etc., is 4 hours. Now you've got back your day. Now you've got back your day to do multiple things. You can actually engage in free play as a child, and we then help you bring back the sense of balance and mental and emotional wellness, because that's where it comes from for children. The second option is you get to specialize. So if you're really good at cricket or music or something else, you get that part of your day back to specialize in that. The third is you get to explore various interests. You get to do other online courses or offline courses in areas that really, really interest you. Dreamtime Learning as an online school, you open your computer, you finish your learning in half the time. A lot of kids then do their own things, like on Saturdays run clubs. So we have theatre clubs, book clubs, acting, sort of singing clubs, beatbox clubs, all run by the kids. We provide them with whatever resources they need, but it's driven by the kids, for the kids, and they create those clubs. The rest of the day they spend reading, playing, following something that they're really interested in, right? So that's the online school. For the B2B school, where we license the curriculum, it allows the school to become a personalized learning school, which means kids finish their learning in the first half of the day. Second half of the day, kids can create their own learning journeys, right? So that allows a school to suddenly up the ante and become a personalized learning school. And we've done it without needing very high-tech infrastructure in the school. So each school needs is a smart TV, which is not expensive. Yeah, and then we provide the curriculum. It's online and offline, so we call that phygital in its offering. And the third is the micro school, which is a personalized learning school, which kind of shifts for pace. So kids can be doing science in grade 2, but math in grade 3 at that kind of level. I'm only using grades as an example because that's what we're used to defining it as. And again, they finish their learning in half the time and they do what they're interested in. It could be carpentry, hydroponics, it can be tech related, whatever they're interested in. So they start understanding when you offer choice in that variety, right? That you're offering choice of learning, but then kids kind of say, okay, these are the couple of things that I'm really interested in. The micro school, while it's a new concept for India, it's not a new concept worldwide. In fact, there's one brand of micro schools in the US that's 270 schools plus. We're part of a micro schools network, largely with schools from Europe and America, which have over 150 schools signed on. So micro schooling as a concept will only grow in need and number as parents increasingly start realizing that the existing education conventional system is not serving kids for the age the kids are going to go into the economic workforce in. I mean, already you'll hear from lots of CEOs that, graduates who come to the workplace don't have the capability or capacity, even with their degrees, to have the kind of mindsets for problem solving, critical thinking, creative thinking that all organizations need today. Yeah, so again, Nikhil once said in one of his videos that he doesn't even look at degrees. Just like he doesn't look at degrees, Google doesn't look at degrees, Apple doesn't look at degrees. Increasingly, companies are realizing that it's not the A-grade students that bring these competencies into the workplace that will move them forward. It's children who have have rebelled from the system in some way, who have not done well in the system, whose brains are doing something despite the learning and schooling that will bring these kind of mindsets, success mindsets to a business. So why not build these success mindsets into what we're teaching kids? And that can be done at multiple levels. So the micro school is an increasing need. Why should all kids, if you're a grade 2 student and you excel in math and you are at the grade level of science, in the math class you're really bored, why should you not move forward, right? And why should you not be challenged by peers of a more capable and higher capacity mindset? So that's the thing, is to always keep children in the proximal zone of challenge. So you don't over challenge them, you don't under challenge them. Because if you over challenge them, they break. If you under challenge them, they get bored and they lose interest. So how do you keep them at the proximal zone of challenge, which is where the micro school comes in. So the micro school right now is only one school in Hyderabad, in Jubilee Hills. It's just the model we built. The micro school can expand as standalone micro schools. You can also build micro schools into an existing school, just needing that much space. So you carve out 6,000 square feet of space in an existing school and you build a micro school. So if you've got a school, a fee point of say $1.5 lakh, a micro school allows you to charge 4-5 times the amount, and you will have at least 10% of parents in your existing school who understand that this standardized learning testing process is not doing well for their kids and they want a new, improved, forward thinking format. So if you look at during COVID NIOS numbers, there were 2 million. Today the numbers are already 3.5 million and they increased 15% year on year. That shows you that parents are looking for something that's alternative to ICSE, CBSE, IGCSE and IB. So parents are kind of saying, okay, I need kids to have the basic understanding of content, but then I want kids to be able to do so much more. And so a lot of parents are opting out of the conventional school market, and that's only going to increase. If US shows us anything, I think US homeschoolers are already around 5-6 million kids, and that is also increasing year on year. During COVID, homeschoolers increased to 62%, because as soon as parents saw in India and overseas that they were paying this amount of money for what was being delivered to their child, because suddenly during COVID the school came home, you actually saw what your kids were learning and you suddenly said, is this what I'm paying for? Is this how my child is spending her time? Is this the time getting wasted? Right? How much better could my child's childhood be spent, and what greater learning could she have? And that's when things kind of shifted. So while I built what I'm building and I sold before COVID only has helped accelerate the acceptance of the whole process of online schooling. So the opportunity is large, and it's not just India. We're already signed on an international partner in Dubai. So in UAE, education is really expensive. Our online school is half the price of the most basic offering in the UAE, like Oman and Dubai, and a lot of our online learners come from there. The opportunity is only going to increase as urban India gets more and more populated, density becomes more and more, and there are various formats. These are not the only 3 formats that we're going to do going forward. One of the greatest opportunities is for every teacher to become an entrepreneur, right? By doing an Airbnb come Uber format where she can use her real estate, she can become an entrepreneur, and she's got an entire learning system at her disposal. Parents can pick the best teacher, right? So kids rate their teachers by how engaging and exciting and how much high EQ they have, and then parents can choose teachers. Right? At the moment, your child goes to a school, any child goes to a school and doesn't have any choice. As a parent, you have no choice. As a child, you have no choice. Once you've chosen the school, that's it. I mean, look at IB schools, right? We are an IB schooling format built for scale. Because if you look at IB schools, your experience is only as good as the teacher you have in your class, right? So you can be going to the highest paying IB school or the most, the most price efficient IB school, and yet your experience is only as good as the teacher your child has in the class. Now we are taking that away because we're doing all the design of the instruction at the back end. So the teacher has absolutely everything she needs at her fingertips to have the most exciting, engaging class possible with all the latest tools, technology, gamified, AI-driven learning-powered system. So there's challenges everywhere, especially if you're developing a product and a marketplace that doesn't exist. One is taking parents along on the journey. So one of the constant shifts we need to have parents understand is that there's social interaction and physical interaction. Online, you have a lot of social interaction. In fact, kids do more collaborative work online than they can do in a physical classroom. What is not there is the physical interaction. But since kids finish learning in half the time, they have the day open wide to go down in the building and play and actually have physical interaction that is not supervised by adults, which is the whole thing about unstructured play, which is so valuable, right? Which is where resilience and all these things kind of get built in. The second is building the teams. I've had to do work with each instruction. We call them curiosity and excitement architects, with each instructional designer individually, because to put that sort of thinking of the science of learning, the neuroscience, and the behavioral science in every single session, I've had to work with each designer individually. Working with Indian government regulations will be another. So while Cambridge is widely recognized in all other countries, AIU still holds a certain, so then our kids are forced to do NIOS instead of Cambridge. But that will, I believe, increasingly change as the world changes and as alternative tertiary courses open up. The other things of scale in terms of money collection and stuff like that are pretty much getting sorted out with tech. As we get more and more people involved who are tech capable, a lot of these challenges that we had in the first year or so sort of are getting settled. For me, every challenge is kind of like an opportunity as well. So, earlier when we were running Kangaroo Kids in Billabong High, we had trainers going from Bombay to train all across India. Now we've got teachers all across India, and we're training them to do the training in the physical format schools. So, because the world has gone so tech enabled, it takes a lot of the things that which were very high cost once upon a time, and bring them to a very low cost sort of position. So now when we even hire teachers, we're looking for teachers with certain capabilities. Certain capabilities of going in and looking for quality assurance guidance sort of systems in our B2B format, in our powered by schools. So we're looking at how can we grow teachers to just not be teachers, but to add on to their portfolio and to sort of grow the capacity of who they are and what they're capable of. I want Dreamtime Learning not to be just Indian recognized. I want it to be internationally recognized as the most conscious learning system that there is, and the way forward for all children if we are going to have a planet to kind of survive in. The kind of momentum we've got in these last 2 years, it sort of bodes well for what's going to come. So I don't plan that much ahead. I kind of every day do the best that we can for Dreamtime Learning, and what I find is that the stickiness just kind of increases, the connections kind of increase, the interest kind of increases. I mean, I've had Shane Watson reach out to me on LinkedIn. He's just written a book on resilience for kids, and as the the Australian sports coach and a cricketer, he says, like he sees so much of alignment. How can we work together? So I'm looking at the pull of what we're doing as the world increasingly realizes that the way we've been working isn't working, and we really need a transformational way ahead. And we need to move from kind of grades and sort of diplomas on walls to what kind of drives us and what's passionate in our hearts, what kind of contribution and change we want to bring to the way humanity is living. How can we bring more peace? We're already in a world of abundance, is enough for everyone, and how do we make sure that everyone understands that and moves ahead coherently? So immediately what we're looking for is, in the first year itself, we got about 40 licensed schools which license our curriculum. We're looking to grow that by 100 this year. We started with 20 kids, we've got about over 500 kids. We're looking at increasing that at a minimum of 500 per year. That's the way we see the sort of momentum and the snowball effect kind of rolling. For a micro school, the most forward-thinking cities are Hyderabad, Bangalore and Pune. So the next two cities that we look to put a micro school in is Pune and Bangalore, because they have the most alternative types of schooling. So they seem to already have shifted the marketplace a bit. So there's something called the 100th monkey effect, right? That's one group of monkeys in Japan learn how to clean yams. One monkey does. He learns how to clean yams, and then by imitation the other 100 monkeys learn. And then in another unrelated island across the world, some monkeys start imitating that behavior, right? So there's whether there's universal intelligence, a conscious field, we don't know how that works, but there seems to be something around quantum physics that we don't understand about how all of this works. And for me, if we touch 1 billion learners, then we've actually shifted humanity forever. And when I say touch 1 billion learners, a lot of that will be done directly. But say, for instance, when Kangaroo Kids and Billabong High started, most of the well-known, really well-known brands that exist in India were once franchisees. So they may be, they may have much larger footprints than I have, but they all were once Billabong franchisees or Kangaroo Kids franchisees, and they've all helped shift the way learning is perceived in India, and that's what I think Dreamtime Learning can do for India and for the world.